sound better.
Alright everybody, welcome to our next episode in making a melodic dubstep drop. Today we're going to be adding our sidechain and our drums. We're really going to be bringing this drop to life, giving it some rhythm and some groove. So let's get right into it. First, what we're going to do is you're just going to hit Command-Shift-T and you're going to make a MIDI track. What you're going to do, since I already have mine, you're just going to rename it and call it sidechain. Now what we're going to do is we're going to Command-Shift-M and we're going to create a MIDI clip. And what this is going to do is basically we're going to use this as a ghost channel. So everything that the chord and bass hit, it's going to duck to this. Now let's have it just create a basic rhythm. So let's have it on the downbeat and the upbeat. And we'll just copy and paste this little MIDI clip too. Let's make sure that this is nice and short. We don't want it long. We want it right here. We want it the same distance as this one and all the ones before it. They all have to be the same. This is important because we want it to have the same rhythm and the same snap consistently through. Next, let's take our chords and our leads and let's make them into a group and let's rename it synth. You can do that by Command-G, and now we have our synth group, and this is our big stack. Now what we're going to do is we're going to open up our synths and we're going to grab a compressor. Now I already have mine loaded up, but you can find yours right here in the audio effects, go down to compressor. Now with mine loaded up, you're probably going to get one that looks like this. I just have mine set to this one. It kind of depends on what your preference is on how you like to look at compression. No matter which one you pick, it's going to be exactly the same, so don't really worry about this. I just like mine at this. First, let's set our ratio to infinity and our attack to 10 and our release to 40. Now, what this is going to do is our ratio at infinity means the entire signal is going to duck out. And we want this because we want our drums and our snare to cut through the mix because, you know, we're making dubstep. If you don't want it like this, you can set it to taste. This is just how I like to do it. Attack is at 10 milliseconds, release is at 40. Our gain and our mix are pushed all the way up. And let's have our threshold come down to like -16, -20. We can dial this in for taste later. Also make sure that you have sidechain turned on, and then we can audio to it to our sidechain. Now what you're going to want to do is you're going to hit Command-C and copy this and bring it into your sub bass group and paste it using Command-V. What's important too is you want to make sure these are exactly the same compression. Because if they're different, it's going to sound weird, it's going to sound off, especially if it's on your sub bass. We just want these to be the exact same. So now that we have this all set up, let's hear what this sounds like with our rhythm. So as you can already hear, we have a rocking rhythm. It's pulsing now, which is already giving this sounding way much better than as if we had it without. Let's get right into our percussion. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Command-T. Now I'm going to start looking for kicks. Now I have a lot of great kicks in here from the WA Production sample pack on their dubstep pack. You can get a lot of really cool punchy kicks. I really think that they have a really nice tendency to them. They sound good. I have one saved for this project that I really liked. A nice thick kick. It gets to the point. It's really solid. We're going to bring this in so it matches the same length as our sidechain. We can duck this in a little bit. And let's just put this in on every upbeat. So let's bring this in and let's copy and paste it. And let's hear at like negative, let's say 12. Let's hear what this sounds like. Sick. That sounds really cool. While we mix, while we produce, let's first grab an EQ. And let's put this on, and let's notch anything below 30. Now the reason why we're going to do this is because sub bass tendencies are really dominant below this range, and we want the sub bass to have its own space and the kick to have its own space. So let's take 30 hertz out of the kick and make sure it's a hard cut. And this kick feels a little boxy, so let's get like 110, and then let's do like a -2 dip on it. Sick. That'll work for now. Let's hit Command-T and let's go find a snare. Now, WA also has some really great snares in their sample pack. I'm going to scroll all the way down here, and we can just pick which one we like. I like that one a lot. Let's bring that in real quick. Let's bring it in right here. Let's duck this in a little bit. And let's just put this on every upbeat. And we can copy this through and through. And now let's hear what this sounds like. Let's bring this one down to maybe -10. So that works great for now. Let's make another sample. Let's bring this in real quick. Oh yeah. Let's make another audio track and let's look up another snare, but this time we want one that's a little more crispy on the high end. I like that one. That's a cool one too. That's a good one too. Let's hear these real quick. Oh. Yeah, I like this one. So we're going to do the same with this one. We're going to bring this in, bring it in a little bit, and let's copy and paste this guy through and through. So now we have a higher fundamental. But what's important here is we're going to take an EQ on this one as well. But we're going to cut everything below 500. That's going to leave room for our thick snare, but we just want to focus on the high frequency of this. So next what we're going to do is we're going to go into our reverb, and we're going to take off this high cut and bring everything up above 1000 hertz. Now what this is going to do is this is going to reverb everything that's only above this frequency range, which is good because we don't want any of that low stuff reverbed. So let's bring in our send and let's hear how this sounds. Let's hear it in the mix. Cool, that actually works pretty well. Let's go back into our first snare. And let's make sure that we cut everything at least below 100. We can duck this out at 10K at like -1. Cool, that sounds really good. I like where this is going so far. I'm gonna bring this up a tad. Cool, so now that we have this kind of basic idea, let's go in, let's make another audio channel, and let's just grab a crash. Now, my favorite classic go-to is just the Cashmere Orchestral Crash. It works great, it gets the job done. This is just gonna add a little more live feel to it. We can bring it in, have it happen on each half, and let's go like -15. Cool, that's dope. That adds a little more fill to it. I really like how that sits. Let's make sure that we also EQ this, just to get any unwanted frequencies out of there that we don't need. We can get to like 100. Cool. Next, what we're gonna do is we're gonna add some hi-hats. Now, yet again, WA Production has some great hi-hat loops. These are some that I live by. I actually use these in quite a few bit of my productions. I highly recommend them. We're just gonna listen through and see which ones we like. I already really like that one. I actually really like that one too. Cool, so let's actually see how these work so far. Let's just create two, and let's put this one in. And let's turn this guy off for now. Let's focus just on this guy. Let's put him at -10, and let's see what he sounds like in the mix. That sounds really cool. Let's make sure that we grab an EQ on this guy too. And let's get rid of everything below 400. Now, another thing that's really important about hi-hats is being able to pan them. Now, obviously we don't want everything going straight down the middle. It's gonna sound a little muddy. We wanna give everything its own space, not only up and down, but left and right. And if you look over here on the right, you'll see this C. And even if I just turn it like this technically isn't panning it. We're only turning the signal up and down. And I'll show you what I mean by this. So if I play this and I have it panned all the way to the left, it sounds like it's coming in your left speaker, right? But if I turn it to the right, it sounds a little different. Let me play that for you again. It sounds like the right side has a little more high end and the left end is a little boxy, doesn't it? That's because this technically isn't really panning it. It's turning one side down and the other side up. So you're technically only getting this top part and then this bottom part. So what we want to do is we want to set this back to center, right click on it and select stereo split pan. And now we can actually pan the channel. So let's listen to this in the mix and let's pan it to our taste. I like right there. I think that sounds solid. Let's do the same thing here. Let's take our EQ and copy it down to our second loop. And let's listen to what this sounds like as well. Let's make sure that we're doing this and let's see what this sounds like as well. Awesome. So we have a kick, a snare, a crash, and 2 hi-hats. This is going to work really well for us. This is a pretty basic drum setup. If we wanted to, we could get a little more into it and we can add a ride, like maybe even like a China. Now I'm looking for like kind of more of a high one. Something like this. This is an Ableton stock sample, by the way. This is really great to have. What we can do is we can just bring this in. Let's have it hit quarter notes, and let's turn this down. Let's actually see what this sounds like this. Maybe we can bring this in for our second half. I think that would be a nice little variation. Let's put this right here. Let's see what this sounds like. Dope. So now we have this basic setup. Let's select all this and let's hit Command G and let's call this drums. Now another cool thing to notice too is we are going to take an EQ and we're going to take a glue compressor. Now, if you remember from my first lesson, I like to talk about how I like to compress before I EQ. That's because no matter what I do to this, it won't change this. But the second I change my EQ, I have to recompress. So first, let's listen here. And something to understand is since these are all samples, they're technically already compressed. So over compressing this is going to destroy these sounds, and that's not what we want to do. But since there are a couple from different sample packs, there's going to be peaks. Like for example, this one. Do you see how this is higher than this one? We don't really want that. So what we can do is we can bring our attack and release all the way down and just catch a slight peak. So let's listen to it together. Cool. I really don't want much compression. I just want it to catch that little peak right there. Cool. That's what I want. Let's bring this down and make sure nothing gets below 30 again. And let's hear this. So So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna add a little more variation to our drop. These drums are cool, but they're a little stagnant, so let's add some life to our drop. What we can do too is, since we have a ghost channel, this really allows us a ton of creativity to add ghost hits, which can add it to duck without anything happening there. Now I'm gonna show you what this sounds like. See, it sounds actually pretty sick. So let's try doing this, and we bring this over right here, and we can put another kick right here. But what we can do, another thing for fun, is we can actually turn this down using this level right here, bring it down a little bit, and this will add a little more lifeness to our audio samples. This is basically like adjusting the velocity in MIDI clip. So if we bring this down, it's not gonna hit as hard as this one. Let's hear what that sounds like. Cool. Let's do the same thing for this one. Let's have this kick hit again, but this time on this note. And maybe we can do the same thing again with this one. And maybe we can do something cool with our snares this time. And we can have this come over, and we can bring it in, and then we can duplicate it. So let's hear what this sounds like all together for the first half. Cool. I actually really like that. Hearing this again, I'm gonna bring these down a little bit more. Cool. Let's just copy and paste this over real quick, just so we have the same rhythm. Let's bring this as well. And maybe we can have our ending be a little different. We can have our channel hit as well right here. We definitely want to make sure that this double snare also gets sidechained. There we go. And now let's hear this. And then maybe, except this time, we can cut this one in half. So we can actually have it like this. Now let's hear what this sounds like all together. Awesome. One last thing that we're going to do before we end this episode, guys, is we're actually going to go back into our kicks right here, and we're going to talk about something that's very important. Now, our kick in our low end, which is our sub, which is this, these are the most, I think, fundamental parts of the song. Low end gives your song thickness, and your kick gives your song drive. Now, we don't want these to compete, but rather work together in unison. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a Pro MB here. Now, you can use this with Ableton Stock, OTT. I just find it works really easy with Pro Multiband. This is just like a classic producer essential. If you don't have it, I highly recommend you get it. So let's actually set a notch right here. And our kick is probably going to come in around 60. Now, you'll also know that that's probably where the fundamental of the bass comes in, which is instantly where we run into some problems when we're mixing. So what we're going to do is every time that this kick hits, we're going to have our sub duck. And basically what that means is, instead of EQing the frequency out, it's just going to get quieter. What we can do is we're going to hit external and expert mode. We're going to go to sidechain on our VST, and we're going to go down until we find our kick. And now every time that this kick hits, you're going to watch as the frequency ducks. Now let's go over and see what that sounds like right now. Now you're seeing it duck down as it hits, and this is the threshold. Now we don't want it to go away completely, but we want it to hit real quick. So we're gonna have this attack and release snap instantly. That way the second the kick is done, the bass is back. And let's just adjust this to taste. Awesome. Cool, guys, and that's going to wrap it up for this lesson. We have our drums, our sidechain, our synth, and our sub bass. In our next lesson, we're going to be talking about making our fills and really bringing out the dubstep side of this genre.